Webinars. Let's be honest, you probably have no idea how, or you don't understand the secret sauce that is a good webinar, but I do. And that's why I'm coming here to you today to talk about webinars and what you need to do to get your webinar on track. So let's do this. Hit it, James.
Brad Johnson Show.
I'm turning losers like you into winners like me.
You're about to enter the winning zone.
All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Brad Johnson Show. This is not a webinar, but it could be, but it's not. So I'm here as Brad Johnson, your host, and assistant to the host here is James Kirkland as well.
I'm here as James Kirkland.
Okay, I'm trying to tell you about my morning here. It was very zen. I just got done with my 2 hours of hanging upside down in my hyperbaric oxygen chamber. Dude, I was listening to recordings of professional bird watchers talk about their birding adventures and like noises of birds in the back. It was an amazing morning.
Wow.
I got to tell you.
That sounds exhilarating. I love bird watching, as you might know. So that sounds delightful.
Yeah. Well, it was, yes, definitely. So I definitely recommend the hyperbaric oxygen chambers as well. I don't know what they put in those things. I'm assuming oxygen, but I'm not
I would
sure
hope so.
on that. Yeah. So anyway, welcome to the Brad Johnson Show, people. James, the topic for today is
Webinars.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, we're talking about webinars. Now, this is actually something that we've talked about before, but I feel like the entrepreneurial ground, the layout, the lay of the land, as they say, has changed over the last year or so. And I think it's time we hit this topic again.
Yeah, there's so much of a misconception about what a webinar is and should be and could be and will be and might be that we really just need to clarify.
Yes, all of the above. Yeah, exactly. So this, that was 1.30, episode 1.30. We did a how to win at webinars, and it was fantastic. I totally nailed it. But like I said, things change in this digital realm that we are in. I mean, can you imagine being somebody who's walking around today in like 2020 or whatever year it is, and like using like an old iPhone or something like that? I mean, how lame could you be?
Yeah, that would totally destroy the quality of it.
Yeah. Or having like, this is probably a better example. I'm so good at examples. This is probably a better one where like, imagine somebody having wired headphones instead of AirPods or AirPod Pros, obviously.
At that point, your credibility is out the window. You have no room to talk about anything professionally.
Yeah, just shut it down. Just shut up. Okay, so what we're going to do is kind of go through the webinar process from top to bottom. And I think this is going to be a very valuable episode. Basically, there's going to be no fluff, people, okay? And that is a very important thing, that you don't have fluff and that you really just point out the fact that there is no fluff, okay? I want people to really focus in on that.
This is a no fluff zone at this point forward.
Yeah, you just no fluff whatsoever, okay? So if there is any fluff, people will detect that immediately. And what happens when people detect fluff?
They stuff it into a pillow and sleep on it. So
and then they want to sleep.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's just the downside of this is as soon as you do that, like people just go to sleep. So no fluff, no fluff.
You said down.
Yes, James, that was a pillow joke.
Just making sure.
Sorry if you can hear that jet in the background. That's they're just taking it out for a little test drive today. My jet, the one that I own. Anyway, okay, so let's start this off here as far as webinars go with what is a webinar. So James, why don't you just kind of give us the layman's definition for webinar?
Well, a webinar is the most crucial way that you can convey information over the internet, aside from a tweet or other social media approach. And it includes using the web, obviously, and including your face and your voice and communicating important things with no fluff. That's the layman definition.
Okay. Yes, and who better to give it than a layman? So thanks for that, James. So basically a webinar is it's a seminar that is on the web, which I believe is why they call it a webinar, because it has the word web in it and seminar, nar at the end. Not like narwhal, but just like the nar of a seminar.
Right, and not shredding the nar. That's different. That's for skiing. And also, it's not
is
about
completely
semis,
different.
which that's where they originated, I think, was the original seminar was about semis, but that's not the case anymore.
Yeah, it's all kinds of history that has led us to the point that we are today. So, as you get into a webinar, you got to make some choices. First of all, you got to know where you're going to host the webinar. Okay, I would recommend just probably just whip up your own hoster for the webinar. That's what I usually do, just because I'm such a mad coder. Like I can totally just whip something out like that without a problem. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward, and not a big
Definitely.
deal at all. If you're not quite to that level, though, you could use something be kind of lame, but you got to do what you got to do. So I mean, there's all kinds of options out there for people to host webinars on.
Exactly, and you got to cut the fluff of having it be the cheap ones. You have to pay for the most expensive one you could find.
Well, and especially because usually the cheap ones, they limit it to the number of people that you can have on the webinar. So
Exactly.
that's obviously a problem, because if you're limiting the number of people that can be on the webinar, then you're not going to get all the people that could be on the webinar.
Right. You should expect multiple thousands of people on your very first one. If you don't anticipate that many people, you shouldn't even bother doing the webinar in the first place.
Yeah. Okay, so people, now that we know where to host the webinar, all you need to do is come up with a topic. Now, this usually does relate to whatever kind of business you're in. So if you're an accountant, you could do some kind of accounting webinar. That is definitely going to be super boring, though, and people will probably fall asleep even without fluff to sleep on.
Right. And that's the thing, is cutting the fluff also has to do with cutting away certain topics that should not be talked about because they'll be so incredibly boring.
Yes. Okay. So now you got to pick the topic. So like I said, it's got to be around whatever your business is, whatever you're trying to sell. Because it's really, at the end of the day, that's what the webinar is all about, is actually getting you in front of people that are going to buy your whatever it is.
Right.
Okay. So that's the main goal. So in order to do that, you got to pick a topic that's going to appeal to them. Now, I'm just going to go from experience, though. I'm going to tell you the best way to pick a topic is to pick something that people cannot resist. And James, what do I say that people can't resist?
People can never resist a lot of money or a lot of talking.
Exactly. Both those things are very important to a webinar. So, okay, here's actually this is an example I found the other day, and I was just like, wow, this. And I don't say this often, James. I don't say this often. I was like, that guy is doing an okay job. He's not horrible.
I mean, you say that to me quite a bit, but I would say to other people, maybe not so much.
I wouldn't say quite a bit, but I do say it on occasion when things are not as horrible as they could be. So, so this was for some kind of web design, something or other. He was trying to teach you how to get clients, but the headline just really grabbed you. It's reminiscent of the clickbait headlines, I think, that we've talked about on the podcast before. I'm just really wrapping people in there with something where they're just like, wow, that guy just said that. So basically, it'd be something like, are you charging, $500 for a website? You're doing it wrong. Here's one simple trick to charge $20,000 per website without even trying or doing any ads. So that, just boom, right there. I mean, how could you not click on that?
That is so anti-fluff. I love it. There's no fluff in there. $20,000 equals no fluff whatsoever.
Okay. Yeah, so that's one example. Another one was top 1% advertising agencies are doing this, growing to 7 figures, in a little video, and it takes you to the webinar, okay? So boom, there you go. You're missing out because the top 1% agencies are doing this. You're not, because you're not in the top 1%. You're definitely not.
That's true. I have a question, though. If we're really all about cutting the fluff and getting rid of the fluff, wouldn't we put all the information that they need to know right in the title, so we cut straight to the chase? So they might not even have to watch the webinar. Wouldn't that be the ultimate form of cutting the fluff?
Okay, so I talked about cutting the fluff, yes, but I think that deserves a bigger explanation here, because there is such a thing as fluff that is given in a certain situation that doesn't make people fall asleep, but instead goes within them, like marshmallow fluff goes within them, and from there you can use that to make them buy your product. So there's a bad fluff, okay? Definitely a bad fluff, but there's also a good fluff. Now, the way to tell the difference is the good fluff is the stuff that is really important for them to know, even if they don't care about it. Okay, does that make sense?
Okay, so the good fluff is the marshmallow because you can toast it with value.
Exactly.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. So the value, and it's like I said, it's value that they might not even know that they need. So this is a really good webinar tactic. So once they get into the webinar, you're like, okay, we just introduce it, and like I'm going to give you these 5 strategies. This is exactly the process that I use to get clients on automatic without any Facebook ads and no effort whatsoever on my part. But it's going to take some hard work. But I'm going to show you exactly how to do it and make it automated. So that's like kind of your lead in. And you're like, now, before I tell you, you got to be asking, why should I trust this guy? Okay, so that is probably a question that they've asked, but it might not be. The point is that now you can tell them all about yourself, which, I mean, who doesn't love hearing about me?
That's a great question. I'll definitely give that some thought.
Well, it's just the answer is nobody. So that's kind of, so then you want to go into an explanation about who you are, what you do, who you serve, how long you've been doing it, where you're from, how many kids you have. I think definitely want to show some pictures of you with an animal. Okay, I don't know what it is about that, but yeah, we've done some studies on the animal pictures.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, while we're talking about fluff, why not have a photo of you with a sheep or an alpaca or something? That sounds like good fluff to me.
There's fluff right there, or maybe like a one of those fluffy dogs. Whatever those are called. So yeah. But so you give them that intro, you hook them in, and like, we're going to get to that in just a second. But first of all, here's who I am, and here's why you can trust me, because I'm awesome. Okay. And then you want to go into that. And then this is the next step, is you go into all the customer testimonials. Now, James, what do I always say about testimonials?
Testimonials are the best way to testimonials of your business.
That doesn't even...
So I think that's what it was.
No, I don't say. Testimonials are the greatest way to wrap somebody in to being loyal to you, even if they don't know you. Okay, that's what a testimonial is. Okay,
so would you say the testimonial should take up the second hour of the webinar after the first hour of introduction?
At least. I think that's definitely on the short side there. So again, this is fluff that somebody might think is bad fluff because it's going to put them to sleep, but it's not. Okay, because this is good fluff. This is marshmallow fluff. Okay,
yeah.
And this is what you want in your webinar.
Make them want some more.
Yes. Okay. Some more. Yes. Exactly. So. So you want to go through the customer testimonials. Now you may be asking, Brad, what if I don't have any customer testimonials because I'm new to this? And my answer is, what is wrong with you? Like, how are you new to this? I mean,
and why are you doing a webinar?
Entrepreneuring has been a thing for like multiple years. And if you're just now starting, I don't even know if you deserve a place to be in this world of entrepreneur stuff.
If you're really desperate, what you could do is just say things like, someone could say this about my product, and then write your own, or somebody might say this or something like that.
Or there's also, you could always, just kind of go to someplace like, what's the place, the online website job
Amazon?
website where you, no, I don't think you can buy people from there.
Craigslist?
I guess Craigslist might be a good option. Go on there and be like, hey, people, I'm paying $5 for customer reviews. And boom, like that, like you'll get some. And then you can use those. Okay.
Good fluff.
So yeah, definitely good fluff. All right. So now that you've kind of got to that point, next you want to talk about your system. And this is where you really go into more of your story. So before, you just kind of told who you are, what you do, how long you've been doing it, how many pets you have, what their names are, where you got them, where you rescued them from, all that sort of thing. Okay. Maybe some pictures with your jet, maybe some pictures with your Lambo right there. Okay. And then once you go through all the customer testimonials, then you get on to, here's the system. Now this is the meat of the webinar. We're going to get right into it. And as you do that, the important thing to do is not to do it quite yet.
Gotcha. Just kind of keep them in suspense. I like it.
Exactly. And that's what a webinar is all about. It's all about the suspense. You want somebody to just be on the edge of their seat the entire time. And you can't do that if you actually deliver on what you said that you were going to give them.
Exactly. That makes so much sense.
Yeah. Okay. So hashtag logic bomb right there for you. Okay. So once you get to this point, then you're going to be talking about actually the process, but then you want to stop for a second and be like, okay, but this process won't be as meaningful if you don't understand where it came from. And this is where you go into more of your story, which is good fluff, more of your story about how you arrived at this process. You want to tell them about mistakes you've made. Now, for me, this is the hardest part of the webinar. I'm not even kidding. This is the hardest part. I mean, where do I come up with a story like that?
Yeah, and that might be a time that you have to fabricate some mistakes that you've made because they're so hard to come up with.
Yeah.
If you actually haven't made any mistakes, you might just have to make them up.
Now, for most people, though, this is not going to be a problem. So you can just kind of skip over the struggles that I have with this part of the webinar. But for you, you want to talk about, I tried this and I tried that and I bought this course and I bought that course. You want to just really, just dig your fist into that pain. Like just pretend that there's an open wound on your customer that's watching the webinar. And you're just digging your fist in there and just like making it hurt worse and worse and really just aligning with what they're going through. Because I think everybody's been there.
Yeah, they have been there. And if they haven't, just make them feel bad about their personal life. That's definitely a weak point. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there's the first half of our episode about webinars and how to cut the fluff and get right down to business and how to add the good fluff. If you want to hear more about how to get that good fluff into your webinar, come back next week for part 2, where we wrap up this discussion so you can have the best possible webinar ever created. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.
You've just listened to an episode of awesomeness. Now, go out and spread the awesomeness and help others fix the mess that is their life and help them stop being a loser and start winning in business, health, and their personal life by getting them to listen to The Brad Johnson Show. Book your face, tweet your tweets, and Insta your grams at Brad Johnson Show. The Brad Johnson Show. Winners only.